All right. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for attending our school board meeting. Today is May 12th, 2026 at 7 p.m. Everyone, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lawfulin. Roll call, please.
Clint Pence,
Here.
Jane Harkins,
Here.
Lindsay Weaver,
Here.
Lloyd Hamburger,
Here.
Bradley Kirikoff,
Here.
Kimberly Miles,
Here's coming.
Linda Zimmerman,
Here.
Rachel Fortney here.
Kim is attending the granddaughter's concert. She'll be here.
We'll be late. Okay, thank you.
I'd like to start by saying that we did hold a 3-hour executive session yesterday to discuss public comment from the last meeting and the allegations that were presented to us as a board. So can I please have a motion to approve the agenda for the May 12th, 2026 meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Lloyd, second by questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm going to abstain because I'm questioning the order of things.
All right, can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the April 28th, 2026 meeting?
I so move.
Second.
A second by Shane. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Shane?
Thank you, Mrs. Fortney. Kudos to the special ed department for creating their own weekly newsletter to assist our teachers, paraeducators with special education updates and instructional strategies. Speaking of special education, the Waynesboro Olympics was held on Friday, May 1st in the Washington Stadium. Big thank you to all our teachers, paraeducators, administrators, volunteers, and learners for a very successful day. And I know those of us who were here a little earlier had the opportunity to enjoy all the photos. Thursday is award night at Wash's. I believe it begins at 6:30. The baseball team clinched the Mid-Penn Division Championship, so big congratulations to the baseball team. We will be hosting the first round of districts on Friday, and track is also going to districts on Friday. We have one qualifier, Bree McElwam, who qualified for running the 100, 300 hurdles and the 200 dash. And I hope, Zoe, I did not take any of your information. Okay, but you can celebrate some more. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to public comment. Start with Thane Farmer.
Thane Farmer, 11197 Weatherstone Drive in Waynesboro. I understand we have two candidates, Chandra Kraft and Justin Gouff, who have filed applications for the open position left by Ms. Strite's departure. And we have candidates willing to step up and step in to serve on the school board is great. After some research on the candidates, I do have two questions about Mr. Gouff's candidacy. My first question concerns his position as the administrative director of the Waynesboro Early Learning Center. Since there is a tight financial connection between the center and the Waynesboro Area School District, that seems to present a concerning conflict of interest. My second question is about Mr. Gouff's residency. My understanding is that he lives on Geyser Avenue, which I believe puts his residency in Washington Township. but Patricia Strite represented the North End, so any candidate to fill her position would have to also reside there. My understanding is that Mr. Gouff does own property in the North End, but the determining factor in this situation is the address he has recorded on his tax forms, as that determines his actual place of residence. Hopefully, these two concerns can be addressed during the interview process. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And then-
Hi, good evening, everybody. So last meeting, I kind of talked about how I had the idea of doing this glow report, and it seemed to have good feedback afterwards. So I set out another call for anybody who wanted to just give positive reports on things that were going on in the district and just things that might normally be overlooked but just deserve a shout out. So without further ado, so Globe Report for this week, there was a mother who wanted to shout out and give a glow to Chelsea Mon, who is a paraeducator at Maury. She said she always makes my kids feel comfortable and safe and goes out of her way to check in with them when she knows they're having a hard time. And she couldn't say how much she appreciated that as a mother. So thank you, Chelsea. Another mother actually had a glow for Mrs. Hoffman, Dean of Students for classes of 2028 and 2026. She says she's amazing. She has been a safe place many times this year for my daughter if she was having a bad day and just needed to talk, whether an issue was going on with another student or a teacher, regardless of who was at fault. And she said many times my daughter was at fault. And at times she was not. Mrs. Hoffman has the patience of a saint, will listen completely and be honest with my daughter regarding the situation, what she may have done wrong, or how she could have handled it differently. So that mom wanted to say a huge thank you to Mrs. Hoffman. I had a mother reach out that wanted to send a shout out to the high school sports security team. She said these gentlemen put in so many hours and they are very helpful with managing the crowds and cheering on our athletes. She also wanted to shout out the trainer Marla for all that she does, that on a moment's notice she responds to injuries and provides her expertise with a calm, comforting demeanor. And lastly, she said she would like to give a praise to the driver of bus 57. In her daughter's words, she is a positive start to my day every morning. She decorates her bus for us and always asks about how she's doing in school and sports, so she makes them feel special. I had a glow for Peyton Henderson. From a mama, she said she's a first-year teacher at Summit View and that she has done a fantastic job with her kids. She has been so encouraging to her students and has really helped her son grow this year. She has gone above and beyond to create such a positive learning experience for all students, and her son absolutely adores her. I received a glow for Mr. Becker and Mr. Neff in the middle school and a paraeducator at Fairview, Miss Alyssa Zeger. All three go above and beyond with students and are in great constant communication about students and parents. I received a glow for Harmony Covalt just for all that she does at Summit View and just the positive environment that she helps to create. And the last one that I received was for from another Maori mama. So she has twins who are in kindergarten, and she said she would like to acknowledge Maori in general, but at this moment, Mr. Weatherald, Miss Benedict, and Mrs. Barr. And she says, from the moment we enrolled the girls at the school and found out their teacher, we feel as if Maori has gone above and beyond to be accommodating for our girls. In most recent events, I want to give a glow to these three specifically for going above and beyond. I'm sorry, everything okay? Okay. For going above and beyond to make sure our one daughter in a wheelchair and our other daughter that also has mobility issues would be able to attend a field trip to Buttonwood with all their friends. Mrs. Benedict and Mr. Weatherald even went as far as to drive to Buttonwood to work out a plan of action to make this possible for them to attend. Mrs. Barr also works hard to make sure they are included and bringing up issues that need to be addressed throughout the time. She says, we are so proud to be Maori Mustangs. So I just wanted to share this.
Thank you. Yes. Okay, so now we're moving on to our interviews for the board candidate open position. We're just gonna go in the order that we received the applications. We have 2 applications. So we're gonna ask Mr. Justin to go outside while Kraft is doing her interview. Ms. Kraft, if you want to come on up. Speak. It's.
Are you okay with me having notes out?
Yeah. We're
Okay.
So bear with us as we do this, but we
Okay.
have a list of questions and we're all gonna take a turn and ask you a question.
Okay.
I have the first one.
All right.
What are the top 2 to 3 priorities you would focus on in your first year? What are your top 2 to 3 priorities you would focus on when in your first year?
Okay. So communication, I believe, has been an issue and it would be my number 1 priority. I think through board policies 905 and 910, which I'll check my notes here. A citizen advisory committee is policy 905, and that could be implemented to have a communications task force. There's a lot of willing and able people who are really motivated right now, and I think it would be great to use that momentum of all these motivated people to collect data, collect feedback, how our communications, maybe people feel like they're okay, but if not, how can we streamline them? I know personally as a parent, I appreciate all the different ways that communication is sent out. But I think sometimes messages get lost, or if you send out a survey, it might be buried in an email and maybe we're not getting all the feedback that we could be getting because of these multiple forms. So a communications task force could be implemented and I would be willing to chair that. I understand these community task force under this policy need to have 1 board member chairing them. And policy 910 is in community engagement. So sort of an extension of that improving communications. And I understand that when that policy was written, maybe in 2012, if I'm remembering correctly, the superintendent at the time was tasked with coming up with this plan of community engagement. I don't know if that is still active, but if not, well, I should say I don't know that it is active, so maybe it needs to be revamped. And if it's not active at all, then maybe it should be revisited. And you asked for 3, right?
2 to 3.
2 to 3. Okay. So communications is my first, the first one, which I touched on there. And then I think it's imperative that the board hire a new solicitor. I think that you were maybe misguided over the last few months, and I think that that would be a priority. So those are my 2 with a little expansive on the communication.
How would you define success for a school district?
Success. Okay. In my personal and professional career, I always feel that something has been a success when the people who I've come in contact with are left feeling heard, respected, appreciated. And I know for me personally, when I'm dealing with leaders or directors in my professional life, I appreciate when I feel those things. And I think when you lift others up, you become more successful yourself. And so in this role, I would gauge that feeling of success on how people felt I was hearing them, how individuals felt I was communicating with them, and if I left them feeling respected and heard.
How would you handle a situation where community opinions are strongly divided?
Okay. So you have to follow your own moral and ethical compass in those types of situations. I think as we've seen in the district over the last few months, certainly there's been a divide. Again, going back to communication, making others feel heard and respected, listening to the other side, reaching across the aisle, as they say, will go a long way in instances where people are divided.
How would you handle disagreements with other board members?
I think first they need to be handled privately. And if it's, for me, if it's a disagreement on policy or procedure, there's a standard way that you handle that. Just you listen, you say your piece, you use professionalism. If it's a personality difference, there's nothing you can do about that. You just have to learn to politely respect each other and at the end of the day, work towards the common goal of what's best for the district.
Well, me, the old guy gets along.
Okay, do I need to take a note?
I can read it.
Okay.
We live in a social media world.
Yes.
During the last several months, present and past school board members have been criticized and attacked on social media. Many of the attacks have not revolved around policy or performance, but rather ad hominem attacks about their appearance, personal behavior, and other issues that do not pertain to their position. And in some of these cases, these attacks have included family members. As a member of the school board, how would you respond to a social media attack on you or your family member that is not related to your performance, decisions, or activities on the school?
Okay. I appreciate that question. I am active on social media and I do see many comments. I have to say I haven't noticed attacks on appearances. I hope that's not true. That's not how I handle myself on social media. I don't know if any of you have seen my posts. I like to operate under facts. As you may know, I love to look at policies, I love to say this is what you're supposed to be doing. So that's how I operate. Facts and procedure and policy, and that's how I would maintain my social media presence. I would not be able to police what others are saying online, and I haven't tried to do that thus far in my life. I think that would be a futile effort. So you can only set a good example. And if I were to be selected, I would model myself after Mr. Pence and Miss Weaver, who have active social media pages. And if someone were to post one of those things that you mentioned on my page, obviously I would police it, but you can't police the whole internet, unfortunately.
Tell us about a time when you had to make difficult decision with limited information.
Okay. So I think you all, I hope you all had a chance to read my application, and you saw that in my previous job, I worked for the USO. I worked for USO Japan, and I was the operations manager at a USO center there called USO Yokosuka. And in the summer of 2017, the USS Fitzgerald had a collision with a cargo ship and 7 sailors died. I had just come on to my role there. I had been there about 3 weeks. And we also had a new area director who's like the superintendent or the captain of the USO, and she was also brand new and was unavailable. My manager was also unavailable. So for the first 2 weeks, I was put in this position where I didn't really know USO policies. I had to just go with my gut for, eventually big USO moved in and sort of told us what to do. But for those first like critical 72 hours, it was just me, my one coworker, and a bunch of volunteers just trying to do our best. So you asked about this this limited information. I was really thrown to the wolves. I think that experience would lend itself to this situation where I know the board and the district is under a lot of scrutiny. I've asked myself am I nuts for for this? But I feel like I'm in the right place at the right time with the right experience, having been a public-facing leader in a crisis situation where the community was traumatized and I was in a position where I didn't have a lot of information, brand new to the job, and we made it work. And I did receive the USO's President's Award for my work done.
How would you respond if families feel their children are not being treated fairly?
Okay, this is a tough one because I know different people have different thresholds for what they think is fair, what they think is bullying. I understand that the state is putting some legislation out that's going to be guidelines for what to do in instances of bullying, and then we would be able to follow those guidelines. If a community member came and made a public comment and said that they didn't think their child was being treated fairly, or they sent an email and said that they didn't think their child was being treated fairly, I actually don't think it's the role of the board. It would be getting that information to the correct individuals so that they could handle it, whether that's the building principal or guidance counselor. Getting it to the correct individuals would be my priority, as I don't think it's the board's role to micromanage those types of situations. If it is just a situation where they need somebody to listen, I'm happy to do that and then direct them or point them in the right direction.
Do you believe in chain of command?
I do, yes.
All right, last question. What is an area you are still learning and growing in?
Okay. I am very impatient. I want things done yesterday. Sometimes I have to check in with my coworkers, like, am I being impatient, or should I have heard back from this person by now? So I do sort of bounce that off my peers, and it's definitely something that I continue to work on.
Else have anything?
I just have a quick question. Do you have children in the district?
I do. I have 2 children, one in middle school, both boys, a son in middle school and a son in high school.
You have any conflicts of interest?
The closest tie I have to the district is my second cousin was a teacher's aide. Now she has a full-time job elsewhere and sometimes substitutes. That's like literally the closest tie.
Actually, I do have a question, and it has to do with your previous emails to the board, etc.
Mhm.
So, do you feel that these board decisions should be handled through emails, through social media, etc.
I think email is a quick and easy way to communicate with individuals. I believe the only email that I've sent you was in follow-up to your Sunshine Act violations, and I shared that in a public comment, and then in the public comment said that I would follow up with you, and I did, and I never heard back from you. I would like to just ask, maybe you, I think you, maybe, have you been on the board the longest? No?
I think you're right.
Okay.
I have been.
Okay. What's been your, we call it a glow, right, Rachel? What's been your biggest glow? The happiest, most successful event or feeling that you've had from being on the board?
That I have had on the
Mhm.
board?
Yeah.
I have one, if you.
Uh,
But, you know.
Well, I do love to have the representation of all of the schools, to let them, to let us know what they are doing.
Mm-hmm.
And the student presentations have been absolutely wonderful, and so what's yours?
Mine is definitely our community involved.
Mm-hmm.
Able to go to some of the events that we have, and also like just being like at work or wherever and like wanna, and it's
Yeah.
just nice, like being able to know that like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so nice, like for our community. I just rave about them.
Yeah. I love that. And I've enjoyed the board meetings that I've been to where there's been a few. I loved seeing the middle school mental health club. I loved seeing that. And I'm looking forward to Mallory's presentation later.
So much.
Thank you.
Hello.
So, the way we're gonna do this is we're just gonna start and work our way down. We're all gonna ask you a question and then we're gonna.
I'm first. What are the top 2 to 3 priorities you would focus on in your first year?
So I think a main one for me, and it was brought up this evening that I work at Well. A main one for me is staff retention and making sure that our staff are happy. Because if we are not having staff, then we don't have anything to worry about. They are a top priority for me.
How would you define success for a school district?
Success. So staff retention for one, student equality, making sure that we're treating them all the same and fair across the board, that we're putting out a good product at the end with our students' numbers, test scores, things like that. The curriculum, they're learning from it, they're benefiting from it, and then we're producing an educated child to go into society.
How would you handle a situation where community opinions are strongly divided?
I would definitely take the opportunity to hear out both sides. There's always that opportunity where you're in a situation and you don't know all the details. So you have to use your best discernment when it comes to making those decisions. But definitely taking the opportunity to hear out both sides and evaluating it from that perspective, and making sure that you understand both sides before making that decision. I'm a fast talker, so you're good.
So how would you handle disagreements with other board members?
So I think a board is collaborative of people with different opinions all around. and that's what makes a board. So it's not going to be very often that everybody's on the same page. So obviously you're going to have to work together and you're going to have discussions and see other people's sides and opinions. No one opinion is greater than another. We are all on the board together to work together for the best intentions of the district. So if there is going to be an opportunity that you're going to have a disagreement with a board member, obviously you need to listen to their side and vice versa. Ask them to listen to your side and discuss it.
We live in a social media world. During the last several months, present and past school board members have been criticized and attacked in social media. Many of the attacks have not revolved around policy or performance matters, but rather ad hominem attacks about their appearance, personal behavior, and other issues that do not pertain to their position. And in some cases, these attacks have included their family. As a member of the school board, how would you respond to a social media attack on you and or on your family that is not related to your performance, decision, or activities on the school?
So, great question. First of all, as a parent, it's upsetting when you want to bring a child into something that has nothing to do with the child. If you have an issue with me or if you have an issue with an adult, please take it out with them, not the child. Don't bring the child into the situation. Or even the spouse for that matter. Direct your attention to the person that it's to go to and not to their entire family. That's not fair to them. As far as myself, I mean, there was stuff on Facebook the last couple of days. I'm not going to respond to it. Typically, if you've got a question to me, call me and ask me. It was public knowledge where I work. Feel free to give me a call. I'll answer the question for you. Find my cell phone number, give me a call. I'll answer a question directly to you, but I don't care to fight on social media.
Tell us about a time when you had to make a difficult decision with limited information.
So on a regular basis, I do that. So there are opportunities where a staff member would call me with a situation that might arise with a parent or a child in the classroom. And if you're not there during the time that it happens, you have to use the evidence that's provided via the video surveillance, the teacher's interpretation of it or the parent's interpretation of it. So I do that on a daily occurrence to make decisions like that. I try my best to do my research ahead of time. And I'm one of those people that if you ask me a question I don't have the answer, give me the opportunity to research it and I will get back to you.
How would you respond if families feel that their children are not being treated fairly?
So I think there's different perspectives to every situation. If a family feels that their child is being treated unfairly or differently, I would definitely like to take the opportunity to talk to them, set up an opportunity for them to voice their opinion to me. And then from there, I would take that opportunity to research on my end what is going on and what we can do to improve that or make that better.
What is an area you are still learning and growing in?
Every area. One of my theories is if you ain't learning and growing, then you're not going nowhere. So there's always opportunity for growth and to learn new things. Definitely coming into education is a learning experience in itself because what I grew up in education with or going to school in is not what we do today. So it's definitely evolving at all times. So being able to adapt and overcome and change and grow with things is in every aspect.
Okay. Do you have any children in the district?
I do not. My wife and I chose Shalom Christian Academy because we wanted a faith-based foundation for our children. So we chose Shalom prior to even having children. That was something that our hearts were set in, and we chose that before even having children.
You have any conflicts of interest?
I'm sorry, I'm going to add something to that. However, with tuition increases, there's always the discussion every year of coming back to public.
Money talk.
Do you have any conflicts of interest?
So it was brought up that I am the executive director. My title at the Waynesboro Early Learning Center is the administrative director. I do operate the daily, day-to-day basis of the center. I do handle the finances, employments, education, everything of the center. Do I feel it's a conflict of interest? I do not. I think that if there would become a vote that would determine something for well, I would excuse myself from that vote if I needed to. Currently, we hold 2 pre-K counts programs, and we do receive funding for those from the Waynesboro School District. However, we do also have to abide by all the state regulations and rules and paperwork and all of that good stuff that comes along with having that program. So it's not money that is just gifted to us. We definitely have to work for that. And so does our staff. And I'm proud of the fact that we can house that and provide that opportunity for our families as they come up through our center. So while it may sound like a conflict of interest, it's definitely providing students into the school district. And we start them at 6 weeks old and go all the way through 4th grade. So we do provide service for the school district and the students. So does it carry over a little bit? Yes, it might. But I think that when it comes to the finance part of it, if I need to excuse myself from a vote, I'm willing to do that.
All right, we heard earlier that you may or may not live where you say you do.
Absolutely.
Do you live within the appropriate election district?
I do. Can I fully answer that? I own 2 houses. My first one is on Geyser Avenue. I bought it when I was 19 years old, and I was not willing to give it up when we moved into a bigger house because it was a milestone I did on my own without a cosigner. And I was pretty proud of that fact. So I have a lady that rents that from me. We have not lived there since November of 2018. I have lived out at 7247 Anthony Highway.
Well, you're a registered elector in,
That is correct. Yep. We vote at the church across from Mount Alto Fire Hall.
I did. It's, should the board decisions be handled via email or social media?
You mean like voting?
I don't know. It was your question. I just wrote it down.
Actually, I did ask her that. So, you know, yeah, should we be handling, you know, board decisions through social media?
Email.
Or public email rather than individual email, correct? Or is that not the way I asked the question?
Let me try and answer it. Let me see if that answers
Okay.
for you. How's that?
And then I can re-ask or they can ask.
No, I do not feel a board member should post or share their vote on Facebook prior to voting. If you would like to share afterwards your opinion of it, absolutely. You're an elected person into a board position, and it is their knowledge if you would like to share that. Absolutely. Do I feel you should vote or put it on there prior to? No, I do not. However, there are opportunities or times that you do need to send a vote via email and ask the board to respond and vote through an email. As long as it's documented and there is a trace that you can't deny that you did that, absolutely. As long as it can come back to you and it's not falsified. The problem I have with social media is it's a lot of one-sided things or somebody's opinion and not facts all the time.
Any questions for us?
I do not.
I think you threw it on my stuff.
oh, I'm sorry.
I think that these are you as well.
Moving on to the presentation portion of the meeting. Weatherall, Mallory Lerner.
On us, girls. All right. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for letting us showcase our Maori students. I'd like to recommend that these girls get a civics credit for sitting through this board meeting tonight. So check that off for high school.
We should get two.
Right. Yeah. So we'll move on to the good stuff that everybody likes. Addison and Phoenix came up with an idea that started a club at our school. It is one of the most organic and creative student led things that I've seen in my career, and I'm very proud of them and what they've done. They shared this idea with Mrs. Piles, and Mrs. Piles kind of said, let's present that to Mr. Weatherald, and Mrs. Piles, our counselor, is right behind me. She gave him a leg up. She shared with him that my 12-year-old daughter, when she wants things, she makes a PowerPoint presentation for me. So these girls created this presentation and presented this to me. And I guess I am a sucker for a good PowerPoint presentation. And I'll let them talk more about this, but basically what happens is they meet as students and create their own books. We have illustrators, we have authors, we have some comic books, we have they're creating all these books. Then I have to approve them. They come to my desk and I read them and make sure they're appropriate and sign off. And then the students have a place in the library where they put their books that other students can check out. So it really has been a very awesome thing to see. It started with these two girls. We just had it today, and I think we had 40 kids today. Yeah. Well over 40 kids today. So it's actually become like a traffic control situation, trying to get everybody in and out. So we will let Phoenix and Addison take over. So girls, you can step up here. Make sure you talk into the microphone. Yes.
Yeah. Open to all students in all grades. All books will be for all ages. When work has to be done, including your cursive and study island to work on writing during class time. After school or before school times and recess and at meetings. Why should there be a club and where should it be done? The book builders. Write and publish students will write and publish books to be shared with the school community checkout system. Available for all students to check out and read during library time. Library showcase. Books are shared on a specific shelf in the library for everyone to enjoy. Collaboration. Artists can coordinate illustrating books written by their peers. Monthly schedule. Cafeteria once a month. Author and illustration names added to any published work. Idea development. Time creatively write, draw, and share feedback. Approval process. Mr. Weatherall will review and approve all books. Book builders in action. Our creative entryway. The official bookshelf. A world of stories.
Actually had to add it to 2 doors, and our bookshelf kept getting really full. So I kept having to buy things for the library for us to hang and display our work. So
We have around like 36 books.
so yeah, 36 books. Some of those are collaborative with other students. Some are like art. We have comic strips. One student wanted to write in Spanish, so we have a Spanish comic strip. We've used Canva, like we've done some AI, so it's just really fun to kind of experiment with different ways for them to be creative. So I think that's your last slide, isn't it?
You don't have to stay for the rest.
Because Jason doesn't want.
Well
to.
done.
Thank you. That thing, we have to collapse it, but yeah, we can definitely.
All right, 26-27 preliminary. And Dr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. We'll use some notes here. So the first slide really here is just kind of the mechanical timeline. The importance of this is that we have to pass the preliminary budget at least 30 days before you pass the final budget. So looking at board meetings, theoretically, the goal would be passing a preliminary budget now and then pass the final on June 23rd. That would be your last board meeting in June. That meets the criteria. So during that time, we have to advertise it so many days out. We have to make it public, things of that nature. The important thing to remember is that the preliminary budget and the final budget can be two separate documents. It does not have to be the same item. So I know that some of the boroughs and counties and such have limitations. School districts have a lot more flexibility with their budgets. And the reason is typically we're going to ask you to approve that budget before the state actually approves their budget. So most likely the state will not pass the budget by June 30th or before we ask the board to pass the budget. And again, you're stuck with the other 499 school districts out there with the same situation that they're facing as well. So that's kind of a normal situation, unfortunately, with Pennsylvania. So again, mechanically, it's a preliminary budget is passed. It starts the 30-day clock. You can then approve your budget anytime after those 30 days, as long as we meet the advertising and the requirements that we have out there in public display. Once the budget itself, of course, is passed, what happens next is that goes, the data goes back to the county. They create the tax bill data that goes to the tax collectors, and then it also goes to the printers. The idea is to get those bills mailed out on July 1. That's when we start our collection time frame there and trying to meet that requirement as well. We're a July 1 district. Some districts are August 1, but we've always been July 1. The next slide there, Donovan. The current deficit and the budget here is listed here. We have $627,000 as a deficit. Now, we also have a $500,000 contingency. So somebody could say, well, why don't we just swap the contingency out for the deficit, and then you're almost really at a balanced budget in this case. The reason that we keep a contingency in there is for all the things we just cannot anticipate, whether it's increased special ed needs, increased cyber charter costs, medical insurance. There's a variety of things that as a public school district, we are really cannot control ahead of time. If a student moves in and they require a personal care assistant, that costs $50,000. We can't say no. We have to have some level of contingency out there. So our goal as an administrative team is to come back to you for the final budget with a balanced budget. I can tell you that we started back in February, looking at my notes, we had a $1.2 million deficit with a full Act 1 increase. That was the full 4.8%. So based on the feedback from the Budget and Facilities Committee, we've taken that back a little bit from the Act 1 down to the 4.5%. And then we've continued to work on different items. Everything from moving capital projects into the bond issue, looking at positions based on retirements and resignations. The Career Tech Roof Canopy project is off the table now. SOAR is another program that we've looked at discontinuing for next year. The bond cost came in our favor. That was probably a little bit more than $60,000 of savings just because the bond market was very favorable for those projects. And then even the medical contributions. And again, this is one of those ones that's a little tight for us because we had a range of anywhere from 8 to 12.7% that they wanted us to go up next year. We started all our budgets with 10%, but to try to keep working on that deficit, we took it down to 8%. Now that's become a little problematic because our medical costs continue to erode on that fund balance this year. That number has just continued to go down. I think we're down about $1.2 million from where we started the year at just in the medical side. Again, that's unfortunate for those individuals and dependents, but that's just the reality that has cost us. So there's always that potential we would have to use a contingency to kind of offset that. We can't go below zero in the fund balance in that case for the medical side. Again, this includes the bond projects, includes the Franklin Learning Center. Again, we're under an obligation of about 1.1 million almost, a little bit less than 1.1 million for the Franklin Learning Center HVAC bonds as well. That's our share of that cost for that project. And those expenses have already started for us. What we'll do is we'll be paying ourselves back when we actually receive the bond proceeds. On the next slide, if you would please, Donovan. Thank you. So the only feedback we've really received so far from the state is the governor has a proposed budget. Now the House has actually pushed that budget itself through their process as well. They did not make changes to it. We have incorporated everything but $200,000 of that proposed budget. So when you look at the basic ed line, the special ed line, and the adequacy funding, they're just under $30 million in the governor's budget for our district. We put everything but $200,000. Again, we could potentially take that 200, put it in there, take our contingency out, and theoretically have a balanced budget, but we don't know exactly what the state's going to give us at this point. So we're trying to hedge our concerns a little bit. And again, we still do need to have a contingency. But again, our goal is to come back to you with a contingency and to come back with a balanced budget. We used to receive some cyber charter reimbursement. The state has cut that out. We used to receive PlanCon reimbursement for new projects like the ones we're getting into right now. The state has cut those things out too. So the state has certainly cut a lot of things out of what they do for school districts. And it's not just us, by the way, that's everybody, all school districts in PA. And probably the real issue there is the basic ed and special ed funding are just not keeping up with inflation and need. And we'll show you some numbers here in a minute. On the next slide, Donovan, we have just really the object levels. This is a question that's come up in the past. We just put that information out there for your knowledge. It's just trying to show you how we budget things with the object level. And we're following the state chart of accounts. So the next one on the first graph that you can see there, Donovan, we have the final budget expenditures. Sometimes we put this into a graph format just to take a look at it. We are predominantly a people organization. Salaries and benefits are really where most of our expenses are going to be. And they're actually a little skewed on this chart. The reason why they're skewed a little bit is that if you look over in property services, you'll see building construction. That's roughly almost $9 million of projects that's going to be spent next year out of those bond proceeds. So that's making property services look much larger than it normally would in a given year. When you go back this year or you go into the following year after this, when you look at 27, 28, those numbers will go back into more normal type situation. Other purchase services comes up all the time. We always have a lot of questions. What is an other purchase service? Now, I didn't come up with the title. That's the state's system of how they use the chart of accounts. They call the 500 section other purchase services. A little bit more than 1/3 of that is cyber charter. That's that $6.3 million that's going to cyber charter schools for our students. The next one is Abraxas. Now, Abraxas is really an in and an out. Any students that are up at Abraxas facility, the school districts pay us, and then we take those funds and we pass them back through to Abraxas. We keep 5% per our agreement. That's what we're allowed to keep out of that, to process that and to provide other support. But again, that's really an in and an out under that other purchase service area. Other than that, we have transportation costs in there and actually career tech. So those all go into that same area there. Another question comes up with professional services. Professional services are predominantly two major items. The first one is special education costs serviced by the intermediate unit. The Lincoln Intermediate Unit, their costs go into the 300 series, which is professional services. So any students who are receiving services up at Franklin Learning Center or any other related services outside of that facility, that would go into the 300. The other one is substitutes. Believe it or not, we pay for substitutes through a third party. That goes also into professional services. That's where it's coded as well. And then you can see the other items at the top there are really bond principal and interest. We have to separate those per the chart of accounts. Supplies. Now, there's always a good one. So supplies is certainly papers and pens and pencils. Everything you can imagine you could think of as supplies. But it also includes all of our utilities, natural gas, electricity, fuel. It also includes in the supply area all of our software. So anything that we're doing with curriculum, whether it's in books or whether it's online, that's all going actually into the supply line, believe it or not. It all goes into the 600 series. So again, just following the chart of accounts. On the next slide, if you would, it's really revenues. And again, this is just a quick, easy way to show you that federal revenues, while they have a lot of rules, they don't provide a lot of revenue at the end of the day. You're looking at what, about 1.4%. That number actually continues to go down almost every year for us. Again, that's just the fact that the federal funds are just not a large portion of our district. There are districts that are very urban that might see 15 or 20% of their budget would be part of the federal funds. We are not in that situation. State funding, we just break that down by each item, basic ed funding, adequacy. In a couple years, if the state continues this path of fulfilling their goals and their requirements of the adequacy funding for us will go past the basic ed funding in a couple years. So again, the state needs to keep that up. Their promise is $24 million. They're about, but I think, don't hold me to this, but somewhere around $19 million, $18 million shy of giving us that money at this point. They continue to give us about $2.5 million every year roughly. We have that in the budget for not only this year, but also for next year as well with that increase. PSERS, state requirement for special, for our retirement system payments that we have to make, and then special ed funding. If you notice there, only 8% of the state funding is for special ed, but I can tell you our costs. And I think last year when we looked at our data, what the state gives us for students to provide those services for special ed, it's about $9 million shy of our actual costs. So there's a lot of cost that goes into special ed. And that's not just this district. Just about every district in the Commonwealth has the same situation. On local funding, real estate taxes, again, this is skewed a little bit in this year because we have that capital bond number. When we actually put this back together for you for a final budget, it's going to look a little different. And that's because once we've actually received those funds for the bonds that were issued, we anticipate receiving those by the end of this month. When we put the final budget together, we're actually going to put those over into a committed reserve. You can only use those funds for projects. And so what that'll happen is you'll see that those numbers will kind of change a little bit. The money's still there. It's just we have to account and show it in a different way because it's not going to truly come in as revenue. We'll have already received it by the time we do a final budget. The next slide, if you would, sir. So a couple of things driving our expenses. Special ed is certainly driving our expenses. Health insurance is driving it, and cyber charter. Those are really the big three. The bond costs for the project certainly have an expense associated with them, but realistically, it's the other three that are truly driving those expenses for us. And you can see some of the metrics we put up there to show you what our district's doing. I can tell you across the Commonwealth, they're seeing the same things here. Cyber charter, special ed, medical. On the next slide, again, why do we have to pass the budget before the state does? I wish I had the answer, honestly.
That's the rule.
That's the rule. We have to, yeah, that's the rule. We have to pass it. And the kicker is, I mean, theoretically, we could pass it on June 30th, but I can tell you, we aren't going to put tax bills out on July 1st. We're just not going to be able to do that. So if a district passes them on June 30th, theoretically, we'd have to push the timelines out for a week or two for not only the tax bills, but for the collection as well in that case. And then also that puts a hold on everything until that happens from a revenue side. What is it? 17 out of the last 23 years, the state has not passed it on time. And several of those years when they passed it on time, it was literally on June 30th. So just don't have a lot of faith in the state passing it. What we're hearing a little bit from some of the legislators are they're not going to pass it by June 30th this year. I hope they're wrong. I hope they pass it before then, but again, typically they do not. The next slide there shows what our mill rates are this year compared to the other districts in Franklin County, just to show you that comparison. We have two factors kind of going against us a little bit in the sense from driving revenue. Again, this is really a revenue conversation. Our tax rate is lower than everybody but one district in the county. But in addition to that, the amount of assessed property that we have on a per student basis is the lowest by far compared to all of them. And we've shown that information before in other presentations. Effectively, we have a lower tax rate and we just don't generate much revenue per student because of the assessed values in our community. Fannin Meadow, for example, has a lower tax rate, but they generate about 40% more in taxes on a per student basis than we can generate. So it kind of makes sense that their tax rate would be lower than ours because they're able to generate more with a mill. And that's predominantly because they have had a declining enrollment of about 30% over the last 30 years. So they have the same amount of assessed value, but fewer students to service. So last slide on there, sir. So essentially, again, our goal is to come back to you with a balanced budget, but also with a contingency in there. We think that's important to cover all the what ifs that we cannot plan for. And again, the goal would be to have that for the June 23rd board meeting. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I apologize.
Well, have we heard, obviously the House has got to do what the government. It's part of it. All of that. The other guys are in control of the Senate.
Correct.
Do we know what ping pong we're having between the House and the Senate?
So what I've heard is, and again, we actually did have an opportunity to talk to some of our legislators here recently, is I think two things. One is We have this adequacy funding that is supposed to be met. So the Commonwealth Court ruled that school districts such as Waynesboro are underfunded by the state. We're in the same boat with about 375 other school districts. They're supposed to provide about $5 billion. The goal was to do that over 7 years. Now they're stretching that to 9 or 10. The concern that we're hearing is that from the one side is that where's the money going to come from? Because right now the adequacy funding is effectively coming from the rainy day fund at the state level. So the concern is without something driving additional revenues, how can they continue to use that money out of the rainy day fund? And what happens when it's fully exhausted, which the Independent Fiscal Office says in another year or two, it will be exhausted. So that's the concern from one side. The other side is, well, they're going to keep funding the adequacy funding, which again, it benefits us at the end of the day. It certainly is a help. If we were not receiving the adequacy funding, that's $2.7 million of additional revenue that would not be on the table right now. We'd be having a lot of conversations about how to figure that out because you simply couldn't raise property taxes enough to do that. You're limited by the Act 1 index. You would not have the capacity. And nor would your fund balance be able to sustain a hit of $2 million on a regular basis. Some districts do have the funds to do that, but unfortunately, we're not in that situation. I don't know if I really answered your question, but
No, you did. And the other unknown, we're currently in negotiations.
We are.
Really no negotiations are part of that.
They are.
40 to 50% of our costs personnel. So
Correct.
I hope we will have better numbers put in the final budget.
And as we've discussed a little bit at some of the meetings previously, we have some placeholders out there in that budget. We have not naively said that our expenses are flat year over year in those areas. Well, now, whether those placeholders will meet and match what the final negotiation numbers are, that's always a conversation to have. But again, we certainly have put some placeholders out there and anticipating that costs are going to change from year over year.
Nothing like talk about a bunch of numbers to get in, but please.
All right.
Students had a better presentation.
They did.
Maybe they can create your budget into a book.
I like it.
Yeah.
You should get them to do the
PowerPoint.
slide, the PowerPoint.
Giving me some ideas next time. I don't know what they're doing June 23rd.
Sorry.
He's the assistant. Nick, the assistant.
Hello. So prom is this Saturday, May 16th. It will take place at Penn State Monanto from 7 to 10 p.m. Yearbooks are being sold or picked up if pre-ordered during all lunches this week, Tuesday through Friday. The spring pep rally took place this past Friday. The prom court was introduced and they all performed a dance with a teacher, which was then judged by faculty members. The winning dance was performed by Carter Long and Miss Keegan. The Drama Club's International Thespian Society has its yearly induction tomorrow in the high school auditorium at 6:30 p.m. They will be inducting 6 new members and honoring the members inducted last year. The baseball and track and field teams will be participating in districts this Friday. And National Honor Society members for next year, I believe, will be inducted next Wednesday, May 20th in the high school auditorium. And AP and Keystone testing are in full swing at the high school this weekend. I think part of next week. Thank you.
Policy Committee, Ms.
Nothing new for policy. The next policy meeting is May 21st at 2 p.m. right here.
Academic Committee.
I have that for Ms. Miles. So we met today. We talked about the comprehensive plan, chapter 4 document, which is on tonight's agenda as an information item. I can talk more about that when we come to it. The purchase request list for the 6 building libraries, which I will also add to the Friday folder for the board to look at. I had shared as an informational item that the state legislature, part of Act 47 that was passed in the fall, starting next school year, all graduating seniors will need to either complete a FAFSA application or submit an opt-out form. So the high school admin team has, they actually participated in a webinar, I think today, with the state and with FAFSA on what that rollout is going to look like. So just as an informational item for people to be aware of, and we're working through that. Mr. Erickson, Mr. Cornell, and Mr. McCray presented some information about screen time usage, as we're able to track that through our different systems within the Chromebook, and provide the opportunity to follow up from last board meeting's Inspire presentation. We added 2 agenda items. We talked a little bit about the start of the school year, first couple of days for kindergarten students. We followed up from a concern regarding world language that Mrs. Zimmerman brought to the meeting, and that led us to an executive session because some of that touched on personnel. But that was that. So we are going to have a summer meeting, but we have not yet decided when that's going to be. So I will start generating that in this week's Friday folder. And when we have that, hopefully for maybe the first June meeting, we'll have that arranged and we'll be able to announce that. I think I covered everything, looking at those who were there.
We're going to have this summer meeting at the beach.
I would love that because Mr. McCallum does not love the beach, and I do. But it will have to be, you know, travel on your own. We'll not be submitting expenses for that. We can do it on Friday because it's not a work day.
Facilities and budgets.
Well, the major projects are, all the contracts are let, all of the bonds, and all I's have been dotted, the T's have been crossed. All of the bonds, that we recall, I don't recall the exact percentage interest rate. So
It's either 3.4 or 3.1. I think it's 3.4.
to have that in the mortgage. Really.
Get it here for you in a second.
So anyway, we got a good rate. And of course, you just had the report on the budget, and hopefully we'll come in with some better numbers. Finally.
Actually, personnel, the only personnel that happened was what Dr. McCallum reported.
It wasn't a personal.
Well, so
Yeah, it wasn't a
basically
committee
the
meeting.
full
Yeah,
committee did not meet. No, we have not met.
Mr. Hamburger, it was 3.446.
No, can't complain on that.
All right, so as we head into the summer months and start of next school year, we do have quite a list of personnel. So you can see all of that in the attachments that are in board docs. We have resignations of support staff and coaching staff, resignation of support staff. We have retirement of a support staff member, and we thank Ms. Linda Jones for 22 years of service to the district within the food services department. I do believe she's continuing in her other occupation as a contracted bus driver. She's not retiring from that just because that's not our employment. We have appointments of many things within the ESY program, which is summer learning for our special education students, some of them. We have teachers, paras, PCAs, and nurses. We have summer meal program staff, summer cleaning staff, student summer cleaners, twilight staff, game personnel, substitute support staff, Act 91 classroom monitor, elementary grade level coordinators. We're going to have 2 more on the next meeting. That was an error that we made. And high school content leader. We have appointment of 1 professional staff member, welcoming Ms. Catherine Perro to the high school faculty as a physics teacher. And then lastly, we have 3 requests for leave. So all of that we are recommending to approve as listed.
Can I have a motion to approve the personnel items as listed?
So move.
Second.
Motion made by Shane, second by Linda. Any questions?
I have a question. What is a game personnel?
So depending on the sporting event, it might be at a football game, the chain gang. It might be someone taking tickets and money. It might be the person with the stopwatch at the, I'm not the most athletically minded person, but I know those couple of things.
Okay.
Mr. Erickson and some of my athletic folks who maybe chime in with that. Yeah.
Support the basketball game.
Time clock, scorekeeper,
Sir.
Bocce ball.
yes.
Counselor.
The bocce people are volunteers.
Yes.
Yes.
True
we
that.
have to people that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstain?
I'm gonna abstain.
Carried.
Thank you.
Moving on to WASD pre.
Thank you. What you have in the board docs is the listing of 3 new job descriptions. In light of the fact that WASD is moving forward with the pre-K program here, in terms of making them WASD employees, you have a job description for an instructional paraeducator, job description for a pre-counts teacher, as well as a job description for a pre-count site supervisor. So the recommendation is to approve the job descriptions as listed.
Have a motion to approve the pre-K counts job.
I so move.
Second.
Motion made by Linda, second by Shane. Any questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
Under the job description for pre-K counts teacher, it's listed that they need to have a bachelor's degree in an approved program and PA instructional 1 or 2 certificate in early childhood education. Was this also required for teachers that were from First Start Partnership?
Ideally, it's a requirement for all teachers. However, depending on the number of applicants, we can essentially also hire an individual with a similar background. They would definitely need to have a college education, but in some cases, they might have not possessed that particular certification with early ed.
Okay, so the teachers that were employed by First Start Partnership within our buildings, did they necessarily have a bachelor's degree? I guess is my question. Like, were they required, was it First Start Partnership? Was that a requirement?
Yeah, I mean, so ultimately, we as a school district have always observed the pre-K counts teachers, and we will continue to observe them. So they may or may not have held the actual certification. They would have held a degree and be hopefully working through the certification process. Recognizing that pre-K counts does not offer the same amount of education incentives in terms of pursuing that degree, that process might have been somewhat delayed. So as we noted, that we are essentially treating our pre-K counts teachers, support staff that are currently in the role, pending the board approval of these positions. The positions will be posted. We're treating them as internal candidates at this point, and then also pushing it out for external applicants as well.
The site supervisor, is that at each site that there's a classroom, or is that one person?
That's a great question. So the site supervisor at this point is theoretically a site supervisor for the entire program. Predominantly, this individual has been working at the senior high school because that's where our classrooms are. With the expansion of the program into our elementary schools, that site supervisor would also be able to visit the other elementary schools or also assist with that programming. The site supervisor does not do any type of oversight at WELC as an extension of our program here. So it's all within the Waynesboro School District.
And the teachers report to the building principal, like if there's, let's say there's one at each elementary school, they would report to the principal.
So ultimately, the way it's listed, it would be they're part of our faculty. At this point, we're anticipating 2 classrooms in our elementary schools. Obviously, Dr. Kopko at the high school would not be the individual that they would be reporting to with the classrooms there. However, the way it's listed that way, it would be a shared responsibility with the other elementary principals. The way it's listed is primarily because we have always held the responsibility of doing the evaluation. And so ultimately at the high school, you would have Dr. Vincent Ondeco, the site supervisor would be there more frequently as well. So there'll be a lot of collaboration on that part.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstained?
Thank you very much. We are eagerly awaiting the ability to post these positions and get them filled, and we will keep you posted. Hopefully, we will have candidates recommended for the next meeting in May. Thank you very much.
Favor, Dr. McCallum.
So we have 3 waivers for approval. One of them is a little bit older because of some mitigating circumstances. But I re-summarized that one as well as the 2 more recent ones in last Friday's folder. So recommending approval of those waivers as presented.
I have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Wait, second by Lynn. Questions? On favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Watch.
So a few years ago, the student council started attending the statewide student council conference. It's like a conference that professionals would go to, but it is for students. This year it is in the Pocono area. This is for this coming fall. So student council advisors being proactive, asking to get it approved now. The officers of student council will be invited to attend. So what I got from the high school admin team, and Dr. Kopko can certainly clarify if I miss anything. So the costs of the participation in the conference itself would be covered by student council through their various fundraising efforts. And then the lodging would be split by the students. Some of that depends on the makeup of the officers themselves, boys versus girls and who can share a room. So we are recommending that trip, which they have gone on the past couple of years.
I have a motion to approve. Form is listed.
So moved.
Second. Wait, second by Linda. Any questions?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Dean? Renewal of school dentist contract.
Thank you. What you see in the board docs is the renewal of the dental contract for our school dentist with Blue Ridge Dental Care. Again, this is a renewal. If you read through the document, it indicates when the on-site dental screenings would occur and what grade levels. This is as an as-need basis. The recommendation is to approve the contract as listed.
So moved. Second.
Made by Lloyd, second by Shane. Any questions?
Is this put out for bid? Like, it's just,
It has not, only because this is a very inexpensive option that the district has benefited from for a number of years. I know in the past, other dental facilities have charged considerably more. Remind me, Dr. Holtzman, from a bid perspective,
It's a service, so you're legally not required to actually take it out to bids as a service.
so you just pick who you want. Yeah.
Any of, can you hear any of us or no? No.
Mic's on. They're on.
so Dr. Holtzman, did
So-
you want?
So a service is not required to be bid out in school code. So you're allowed to actually use a service without going out to an RFP process. And again, to your point, it's been $500 for a long time.
It's been $500. And prior to that, I think it was several thousands. So we appreciate the partnership. They've been dedicated. If there's a desire from the board to look at other options.
I like Blue Ridge Dental. I'm just.
Okay, good.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Carried. Well, WellSpan School Physician contract.
Thank you, Mrs. Portney. So the agreement for professional services for WellSpan, if you scroll down through the contract on Appendix A, it essentially identifies the requirements of this particular contract. Again, this is a renewal. In the past, we have had individuals that were in private practice. I believe it's probably been I'm thinking the last maybe 5 to 7 years that we've utilized WellSpan. So the recommendation is to renew the contract. In terms of services covered by the agreement, it's listed there at the very bottom on Appendix A.
I have a motion to approve the WellSpan School Physician contract as listed.
Sure, first.
I second.
Motion by Linda, second by Linda. All right, do we have any questions?
Same type of thing, service. You pick who you want.
Yes, sir. Yeah, you can do that. And again, it's a nominal fee. It's a nice benefit for the district and for the students to obtain the physicals for $15, which is nice.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Any abstained? Carried. Agreement for Franklin County School-Based Juvenile Probation Program, Dr. Sternerheim. Did I move it out of the way?
I just thought mine says academic standing. I must have moved my own. I apologize. Okay. All right. Yes, thank you. Okay, so this is again another renewal of a contract with Franklin County Juvenile Probation. We have a juvenile probation officer that services the district, primarily housed at the senior high school, but will service students across the entire school district. The information from a payment schedule is listed below. The recommendation is to continue this agreement to provide that partnership with Franklin County commissioners and the juvenile probation system.
I have a motion to approve full agreement for the Franklin-based juvenile probation program for 26-27 school year.
I so move.
Second.
Motion made by Linda, second by Shane. Any questions?
Is he here, she here full-time? Is it like
So-
how?
Allie, would you mind coming to the mic? Are you ever, he's predominantly at the senior high school. Like, I'm not familiar of Joe's like actual schedule. Do you have?
I can speak to that.
Okay, never
So-
mind. There we go. Sorry, Allie.
So the person is a full-time probation officer. I am not completely sure if it's a function of the staffing crisis that exists in many locations, but juvenile probation has this individual follow kind of like a modified workday schedule so that there's also some community involvement. So they're a full-time employee. They're not necessarily at the high school from bell to bell every single day, but that does a great job of communicating with us when they are going to be in, or if it's a community day, also sometimes having to be on call that might lead to driving to Ohio in the middle of the night. So
Well, he's there most days.
I would say he's there at least 70% of the time. Yeah. And then, you know, if we would be in the unfortunate situation where he's supervising a student who's at the middle school, he will also visit over there too.
And I'm also very appreciative. I'm not sure how long he's actually been with us, but unfortunately we have a lot of turnover in like juvenile probation, any type of other social services. So he's been an employee, and I know he's definitely one of those individuals that assists in other duties as assigned, although he's not, we can't theoretically assign him, but he's definitely a team player and we appreciate having him on board.
How many students do we have on probation? How many do we have like on average students on probation?
I'm going to say probably like 10 to 12, 10 to 15. Yeah.
So this individual, basically the person who's watching over the probation of students who have been adjudicated by juvenile court through the Franklin County system.
Yeah, with that being said, like he also, in my opinion, and Dr. Kopko, you can correct me, ultimately will serve as a way to be part of a preventive measure by serving as like a mentor, connecting with our learners. Obviously does not have the ability to just randomly interact, but again, trying to be an individual that helps our learners understand what they perhaps need to do to stay out of the juvenile probation system. Officer Gordon, I believe, is here somewhere, but he works also very closely with Joe, and it's been a great partnership.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Chapter 4 academic standard.
So continuing to work our way through the comprehensive plan. This evening, I presented the Chapter 4 Academic Standards and Assessment Plan. So this plan kind of summarizes our curriculum and assessment and how those align to the state academic standards, and in some case, relevant national standards where a state document doesn't exist. Unlike the last two that we've looked at the board level, this one does not require a board vote. Therefore, it does not have the 28-day public review period. So I wanted to present it publicly for, review and any questions. We do have time to get it submitted, but wanted to make sure that it was brought before the board before Dr. Sterner-Hines submitted it in the plan portal.
So do we need knowledge receipt?
I think technically I could just have Dr. Sterner-Hines submit it and not tell you. I don't feel comfortable with that.
Does anybody have any questions for Dr.?
No, I will say the one thing that we are working on is continuing to make sure that our curriculum documents are publicly available. When I took over, Dr. DeShong had tried to work on some of that because ultimately in our district, there's a lot of work that's done on these documents annually, whereas in some districts, they're only looked at every 5 or 6 years. So we want to make sure that whatever is available for the public is the most accurate document. And so Jocelyn recently got trained by Deb Forrester on uploading things to the website. So that is on the list of our summer projects. The building admin have been working behind the scenes with the grade level coordinators, team leaders, content leaders to make sure that the Google Drive is a wonderful place, but sometimes there's a lot of different versions of documents and copies, and it's been a work in progress this year. So I think we're getting there. I think we're ready to have all of those things published this summer. We can certainly make sure that that's an acknowledgement at an agenda over the summer when we're done.
$627 preliminary final budget. Dr.
Yes, ma'am. So again, this is the preliminary budget. It does not set the budget for next year. It does not set the tax rate for next year. It starts that 30-day clock so that then you can approve a final budget at a minimum 30 days after the date that that's approved.
And again, the final budget doesn't have to look a thing like what we present.
It does not, right? Correct. You're not setting a tax rate. You're not setting the actual budget at this point. Again, I don't know how the state would phrase it, but it's really more from a communications perspective. It's to remind the community, before this went into play, obviously a board could have theoretically had a meeting and then suddenly approved, the budget. And that might have been a surprise to the community. Now this whole mechanism is set up really to provide warning for the community in many ways. For example, you go all the way back into last year and you receive what's called the Act 1 tax number. So that's that inflationary index. So we asked the board to approve whether you're going to stay within that or exceed that limit. We historically have always stayed within that probably for the last, 20 years or so. Now with that adequacy funds, you're actually even required to stay within. You can't go out and do a referendum vote. But nonetheless, that's, again, to provide information to the community that here's a budget that will be below that inflationary index when it's approved ultimately the following June for a bill that will be ultimately due by theoretically October. So you're giving people almost a year's notice. Again, that's a great process that the state has put into place. It slows things down a little bit. It makes things more public at the end of the day.
I have a motion to approve preliminary final budget as this.
So moved.
Second.
Lloyd, second by Shane.
But just so we're clear, the final budget's going to be, I mean, very similar to this preliminary budget. It's not like we're going to drastically change.
Right, I mean, again, we have a goal of finding how to solve that $600,000 deficit. That's the issue.
Yeah, but I just want to
On a percentage
state
basis,
that we're
it's
not,
not significant. You're correct, right? Were negotiations to be completed by that date, then obviously we would adjust the budget accordingly to meet those requirements for in the budget. Were the state to tell us what the state budget is, we would be able to obviously adjust it. But you're right, barring that, there's some small tweaks and small changes. But you're right, there's not a tremendous amount you can change to some of this. Right, things like bonds, we know what our bond costs are going to be next year, things of that nature, utility costs, those types of items. But you're right, it's not a significant change.
Well, and to be fair, with all the regulations mandated by the state, the best we can do is tweak here and there.
It's a challenge. It is. It is again, you have a lot of things that are outside of your control. You have costs that are set up by agreements. You have a pension system, which is wonderful, but comes at a cost for all school districts and for the Commonwealth. Again, special ed rules and laws, both at the state and federal level that you have to meet. Cyber charter options for students. Again, that comes at a cost of a little more than $6 million.
Your insurance costs and what they are.
And insurance, yeah.
I thought we should clarify for audience members that when we're talking about negotiations, we're talking about teacher negotiations. And also this year, we will be approving a support staff agreement as well as a supervisor agreement. So those are all factored into the budgetary process. Again, working with several groups at the same time to try to obviously create a balanced budget.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Any abstained? Motion carried.
Thank you.
ASD board now. Can I have them?
Motion, Shandercraft.
Do I have any other motions?
Motion for Justin Groff.
It's been a big concert.
We'll start with Shane Kraft since. SHANDR. I guess I need a first and a second. First would be, like, can I have a second on Chandra?
I'll second it.
Can I have a second on?
A second.
Hold on one second.
Yeah.
Hold on one second.
Yeah.
May I ask a
Lloyd
question?
and Linda.
So my question is, therefore, Kim has no vote.
Not here.
Here.
She just texted me that she's heading over now.
Excuse me?
She wasn't here for the.
Go ahead and go. Okay.
Yeah. Going. All right. I'll call vote on the.
Pence.
Shandercraft. So we're giving the name, is that what we're doing? Are we doing
This
yay
is
or nay?
for Chandra, so
Yeah.
you're yay or nay.
Okay, nay.
Bradley Biricall.
Yay.
Yay.
Hey.
Hey.
Nay.
Jane Harkins.
Yay.
Wade Hamburger.
Hey.
Bradley Biricall.
Nay.
Nay.
Yay.
Motion.
For the motion, it's just. Or as the new WASD school board.
Yeah, she's here. Thank you. And like, you ready?
Justin.
Yes, we have it right here.
What else?
So we'll have to.
Justin.
I don't know if she needs a blue pen or a black pen.
I used a black pen.
Got one there. I do have a blue.
That's our. Yeah, that's, shopping. We're getting you on the budget. You know numbers.
Oh, okay.
Won't even turn the computer in.
Oh, here. I'll let you look at mine.
Don't have anything left. Well,
I know. That's it.
We got it, figured that.
Oh, said. What was it then? They want to take a picture? Nice. Oh, gosh.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank both individuals who applied, for the opening. My opinion that, one of the best things any citizen can do is serve on a board such as this. They're thankless jobs, be on township supervisor, director, any elected position. Generally not appreciated that well sometimes. So again, I think they owe a thanks to both individuals who wanted to volunteer to spend 4 or 5 nights out a week or a month. And I think it was for a while. But again, we appreciate your interest.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. These are the requisition requests as well as the bills for payment for the general fund and the cafeteria fund.
Can I have a motion to approve the purchase order?
Pay the bills.
Second.
Big second by Linda. Questions?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Repository sale, Dr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. This is a repository sale of a trailer. I have to look this up every time this happens. The first step is an upset sale. It did not happen for an upset sale, meaning they had all the obligations against the property. And so it moves then to the next step, which is a repository sale. So the trailer's put up for sale. Highest bidder receives that, but they're not obligated to pay all the outstanding liens and everything. The goal for the district and for the county and the municipality that's in is it puts it back on the tax rolls in this case then. So theoretically, it will start incurring taxes again going forward in the future. So.
I have a motion to approve.
So moved. I never understood these things anyway. So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion made by Lloyd, second by Shane. Any questions?
Let's not get too enthusiastic.
Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, plate and cabinet comment.
I have a couple things. So Dr. Kopko and I were asked to record an episode of the Learner-Centered Learning podcast with the IU, highlighting the collaborative work by the high school admin as well as counseling department and other staff members regarding improving student attendance. And then we were also asked to present that live at the curriculum council meeting on Monday. So we talked about some of these strategies such as March Madness for attendance bingo, and Friday cafeteria challenges. We got a lot of positive feedback, but more importantly, the high school's attendance is up 1.5% for this year. So excellent work there. We are, it's hard for me to believe this, but we are entering the last 2 weeks of the school year. So that means that we have a lot of field days and end of the year activities going on. The middle school is going to be bravely taking all of their 7th graders across the local area to visit various jobs. There's a lot of hard work that goes into planning all of these things. So I just want to thank our staff members for the behind the scenes work that they do to make these end of the year activities meaningful and fun for the students. And I also want to thank our parent volunteers, our guardians who come out and support that, because we can't safely take children off property if we don't have the appropriate volunteers to do that. So Sharon Levick and Tom Hoffman's office manages our volunteers. So if anybody would like to go through the process, they are more than happy to help you to work on that. The summer is a good time to get all that taken care of. Reminder that there's no school for learners on Monday, or for anybody, on Monday the 25th in honor of Memorial Day. The high school marching band and guard will be among the many other community groups marching in the parade. I believe it starts at 9 a.m. and will culminate at Memorial Park with the ceremony. And then board agenda a couple weeks ago changed the calendar so that Thursday, May 28th is now the last day for students, and that is a full school day. And graduation's on the 29th. That's it.
Just briefly, as Mr. Hamburger noted earlier, that projects have already started here in our buildings. That would be over in Hooverville in the middle school. It's amazing how quickly the construction folks can move. So that will continue. And then obviously this summer, the other buildings will be quite as busy as well. So, and again, we appreciate all the work that everybody's doing with those projects. Thank you very much. And all the patience as well for everybody, because in some cases it involves people having to move classrooms and things of that nature temporarily for a couple months or even throughout the summer. So we appreciate their patience.
Great. I just want to do a big shout out to Jocelyn Pence and Mr. Nick Erickson. We are in a situation where Ms. Tentacle is not unable to be here this evening. And so also a big shout out to, I believe she's already left, Justice Gomez Shockey. I had to call her today to see if she was available. So I do appreciate her making the time to be able to assist us with the oath of office. So thank you. Nice job.
Well, I would just like to thank staff for working on the budget. It's obvious that when you're dealing with a budget this large, all the regulations we have to do, that is tough sometimes to cut, but people look at personnel because that's where the money is. Saving on personnel, saving on insurance. Get the best deal we can with the kids, major projects, and so I'd like to all the staff for working with us, trying to come up with some kind of a situation where we don't have to tap out all of the taps. One less delay. Thank you, folks.
To thank all of you for coming again, as always. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Almost.
Second.
Don't be late for quick.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you for coming.
This is crap.
Right
She put assistant. Assistant white coach. Oh, okay, right now? Talk to y'all. But I like this. Yeah. All right. Just thinking that she was.
Congratulations, sir.
And I am
I think.
one of the other North End representatives.
Thank you.
I understand.